3. We are live. Good evening, alienated parents, alienated grandparents, and alienated children worldwide. Welcome to Let's Talk on Parent Alienation with Molly and myself, Mary Kovacs, Auld-Kovacs, I should say. I have gone back to my children's name just so that my children know that who I am out there, I will always be out there for them. And if anybody runs into my kids, they will know who I am. So we have today World National Grandparents Day out there. So to all the grandparents out there who have their children, happy Grandparents Day. But to the alienated grandparents, this show is for you. And I am not an alienated grandparent, but I have received messages on Facebook that when I do become a grandmother, I will never see my grandchildren by my 33-year-old daughter now, after 18 years alienated. What I am here to help the world see that what happens to our alienated children at a very young age become very extremely dangerous in their later ages and become severely damaged mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually through parent alienation, which is now a huge thing in our family court system, profiting off our children. So here tonight, I have both alienated mom and alienated grandparent, Wendy MacDonald. And also I have an alienated grandma, Lisa Cruz from Michigan. Wendy is from Burlington, Ontario. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario. So we are going Canada and the US with grandparents' rights. And I'm going to have the two grandparents talk today on how they both had custody of their grandchildren and ended up not seeing them. Wendy has been 7.5 years, and Lisa has been 1 year and 7 months since she last, actually a year since you last seen your grandchild. Children, two?
Children, two.
But anyways, my mom hasn't seen her grandchildren in 18 years. So I am a strong advocate. And Lisa, I'm going to time to share this podcast. Wendy's going to be co-hosting for us tonight and telling us her story with Lisa. So again, parents, please, if you can tune in, grandparents, share the crap out of this, because this is what the world needs to hear, is what happens when our grandparents lose their rights as well as parents. So welcome, ladies.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Mary. And thank you for being here, Wendy. I'm from Kissimmee, Florida, and my alienation started 1.5 years ago, but that wasn't the beginning of the whole story. It's kind of a long story with two young adults getting pregnant and having 2 babies, and they were too young to deal with it on their own. So of course I took them in, and it was just fight after fight and things going on that weren't supposed to be. And she wound up leaving the kids with my son and myself. So we wound up taking care of the kids for 3 years. At one point she was in prison. Another point she was just out in the streets. And whenever he had the opportunity, he would take the kids to see her. But it got really, really bad. And she had like a psychotic episode, and she wound up going to jail. And then we had to take care of the kids. So when she got out of jail, then that's when she started with, I want the kids. So he would take them to see her. And every time he wanted to leave to come back home, she would have these episodes. So finally, one time she took out a knife. They called me frantic. She's trying to kill him, and I had to drive like 45 minutes to go and grab my grandkids. When I got there, she was in the police car, and they took her off, and this was in front of the kids. So I took them home, and she spent some time in jail. And then when she came out, she was Baker acted, and then she came home. I think she was in there for like 3 months or something. Then she wanted her kids. So then he wanted to give her 50-50, but she never had a place. So he would take them wherever she was, and they would visit, and he would try and come home, and she would start with threatening to commit suicide, threatening cutting herself, threatening to take pills. So he had that going on. Then finally he said, Mom, I can't take this anymore, you know? So he decided he was going to just come home, stay with the kids. And then she was living in a farm somewhere with some family. It's not family because she didn't have family. And her history was she was an alienated child. And I come to find out later on that her mother abandoned her, and she was living with her great grandmother who raised her and alienated her from her biological father. So this is something that history is repeating itself. So now, long story short, now we're in the middle of a custody battle. He wants 50-50. She wants complete custody. He is now on supervised visitations, and I cannot see the kids at all after raising them for 3 years.
Sorry, Lisa, we got cut off. Can you repeat that last sentence? You got what?
After 3 years of raising them, I mean, taking them to school, birthday parties, just celebrating life with them, she comes out of nowhere and starts making accusations to my son. We hired an attorney. We went through 3 attorneys. Well, we're on our 3rd one now. The first attorney, she just wasn't feisty enough to fight off her attorneys because she got married. She met someone who's, I guess he's a nice guy with lots of money, and hired a high lawyer, and they started making accusations and accusing my son of things that were not true. And we had proof, and we brought the proof, and our attorney, it was just so crazy. I felt like I was somewhat like in the Twilight Zone, because we go to court and they lock us out of the room. It was supposed to be a trial, and it turned out not to be a trial. And they locked them in the room. They didn't allow us in, and they came out with some bogus parenting plan, which my son's attorney told him. My son was like, you know, this is not a good plan. And he told him, just sign it and we'll be able to change it later on. It turned out to be a final parenting plan, which was terrible for my son. So right now we're in the middle. We're following the plan because that's the final court order, and we want to do things by the law because Lord knows what we went through. It was just like nothing we said, nothing we did. They didn't hear our side of the story. And this woman comes on the stand, starts lying and making accusations, and they didn't even look at any evidence or anything and just accused him, and that was it. Final order. So right now, go ahead.
Let me ask you about your rights as a grandmother. What did they say?
I have absolutely no rights. She sent me a text, and she sent me a text one time, and it says, you will not see your grandchildren until your son gets overnights with his kids. Now she's trying to do everything in her power so my son won't get overnights. Right now, he's behind on his child support payments, which the lawyer put the child support as, what was it? The child support was by minimum wage. My son was a a dishwasher. He was making less than minimum wage. He couldn't afford to do that. They made him take a 16 panel drug test, which cost almost $1,000. He had to do that. He had to do the supervised visitations are 4 hours every 2 weeks, and it's $220 per visit. So they're just trying to bankrupt him so that he can't do his child support, so that he won't be able to do anything to get these kids back. It's horrible what the courts are doing.
Oh, of course. Okay.
It's just horrible.
I'm going to get Wendy to weigh in, and she could talk about how she lost access to her grandchild.
Mhm.
7.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi. Thanks for doing the show, Mary. Thanks for having us on. This is such a worldwide topic, and I'm starting to hear more and more that it's getting louder. People are getting more louder, and people are like trying to get rid of the stigmatization of parental alienation. My alienation kind of started right out of the blue with my grandson. But like you, Lisa, I was involved with parental alienation before my grandson was born. My daughter was already alienated, so she was very easily manipulated. She was only 18 at the time when my grandson was born, and the father of my grandson was only 17. Both of them had been in trouble in and out of the law, in and out of jail for stealing cars and different slews of criminal activity. And in fact, the father is now sitting in jail due to armed robbery.
Wow.
So they're asking for 15 years to life for him because he ended up shooting the gun, and the clerk of the gas station had to run for his life.
Wow.
So, and then it's like before my alienation with my grandson, I had a super close, wonderful family. I have one sister, my mother, and we were three peas in a pod. We were the best of friends. My sister was absolutely there for every aspect of my children's life, including the birth of my oldest child. When my grandson was 4 months old, I was the one that once he was born for the first 4 months, he was taking my daughter to the doctors for his appointments and everything else. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, my sister teamed up with my ex-husband and convinced my daughter to alienate herself further from me, and made up all this crazy stuff to CAS. They were not capable of raising their own child because my daughter is a complete mess due to the parental alienation herself. So they weren't able to raise them. He doesn't know who his father is. He doesn't know anybody on his father's side even exists. He doesn't know half of my side because my sisters isolated him and alienated him from everybody on my side. So, it's horrible. This doesn't only affect the parents or the grandparents, it affects the extended family. My oldest daughter could never be alienated, and in turn, she's alienated from her nephew as well. She also has a 3-year-old son and a 1-month-old daughter who will never be allowed to see their cousin because my oldest daughter could never be alienated from me. So that was a horrible effect. And, I see so many people who are in this position and crying and so hurt and everything else of wanting to see these grandbabies so badly. But on the other hand, my mother is just as much of a culprit in the alienation. She teamed up with my sister, supported her for the last 7 years of keeping my grandson away from his family. And in turn, she has nothing to do with her other 2 great grandchildren. So it's just a complete horrible disaster that affects so many people on so many levels. And it's like we have to look at the big picture and people want to sit there and condemn parents or grandparents and saying that they're bad people, they've done this, they've done that. But when I look at the big picture, I see my 3-year-old grandson and my 1-month-old granddaughter who are both alienated from their 7-year-old cousin, right? How horrible can they be, right? So that's the big picture. We've got to make sure that everybody sees that.
We lost you, Wendy. Can you give us a little bit back? What happened with your daughter?
Where was I?
The end.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah, my daughter had lost custody and my sister was able to manipulate her. So my sister has custody of my grandson, and my mother teamed up with my sister as well to further alienate my whole family from my grandson. And in turn, she's one of the ones that don't want anything to do with her other 2 great grandchildren. So she's alienated herself from her 2 youngest great grandchildren. So, and this is the big picture that we need people to understand is how horrible can a 3-year-old be and a 1-month-old be that they are not allowed to have a relationship with their 7-year-old cousin, right? So this is the big picture.
Well, Wendy, can you talk briefly about the incident? I was invited to a communion with Wendy. As advocates, we know what it's like to not be invited, but Wendy was invited to her grandson's communion last May, and she asked me to come and videotape this for her as a memory. And Wendy, I'm going to take the rest.
This is a prime example of parental alienation, which was all caught on video, grandparent alienation, all caught on video, as well as domestic violence at a church. And not only that, but it's abuse by proxy because Mary was the one that was abused. They didn't attack me, but my sister was extremely upset that Mary and I showed up at my grandson's first communion. He didn't know that I existed. So when we got outside into the front of the church, my sister started attacking Mary, yelling at her, telling her not to take pictures.
I saw that.
Yeah,
on Facebook.
Yeah, she continued to tell me that I was not his grandmother.
William broken, ladies.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, Wendy.
Okay. So yeah, so they both, and not only that, but my sister went over to her husband and told her husband to go over and tell Mary to stop taking pictures of their son. They classify my grandson as their son. And in return, he did as he was told by his wife, went over and attacked Mary, and now he's suffering the consequences of it because he was charged with assault. But I don't think it's going to be finished there, because for the simple fact is that my sister was the ringleader, and again the video shows it, and her going and telling her husband to go and act on Mary. So she was the ringleader. She should have been charged just as much as her husband was. How she got off when it's clearly right on video that she's telling her husband to attack Mary. So these are the things that we have to expose and we have to get out, because these are things that are happening in behind closed doors. And it's just like the prime example. The reason why you're not allowed around your grandchildren, you know too much. And that's what happens.
Can I just touch on the system? The system doesn't help. The system, like these agencies, like the visitation agencies, from day one, they're supposed to be non-biased, and they right from the beginning, they start with well, mom says this, And just the other day, I got a text from the monitor telling me that mom, first of all, she knows that I'm being alienated, right? She knows that I have no contact with the kids. Any contact that I did have was through the supervised visitation. She texted me and said, Mom told me that you're videotaping the boys and you're talking bad about mom to the boys. I'm like, why? First of all, it's a lie. And second of all, show me proof when and where it happened, because that's a lie and you shouldn't believe her lies. I mean, I don't have visits. And I told the Toby Center, well, the center knows that I don't have any contact with the boys. So that was another.
Now, was this a social worker that said
No,
that to
he's
you?
the monitor for the supervised visitation.
Okay, so the access supervisor.
Mm-hmm. So that was one. I just want to talk to families that are going through this and letting them know that, one, you're not alone. I didn't know that this even existed until I started going through it and I started talking to people, and people are telling me, oh, this is happening to me, or this is happening to me, or my cousin, or this or that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is out there and it is real. It is real. I'm not the only one that's going through this. So because of all this, we got together and we decided we're going to do something about this. We're gonna open up an organization, a nonprofit organization in Kissimmee, Florida, where it's gonna help educate people on parental alienation before it becomes like in Mary's case, where her children are adults and she has no contact, and she's not a grandparent yet, but they're already telling her that she's gonna be alienated from her grandchildren. I don't want that to happen to anybody else. Right now, we're looking to start our program. It's going to probably launch in the beginning of January. So anybody that's listening on here, if you want to reach out to me, I can talk to you about my experience. I'm not a professional, but I have experience on what's going on, and I can tell you a thing or two about what's happening. I can help you with resources, show you where to get counseling. There's a big organization in Jacksonville that's doing a lot of things with parental alienation. And we just want to help families not to go through this, because it is so painful. And not only that, but these kids, they're going to grow up to have mental health conditions.
Oh, they absolutely do. And how old are your boys, Lisa?
They're 4 and 6. I don't want them to become adults and have these issues. I'm trying to nip it in the now.
And it's absolutely between mine and Mary's story. Our children are adults. My daughter's 25 and hers are in their 30s.
I'm trying to not
and they are completely mentally messed up due to it. Now, my youngest daughter and I do have a relationship now, but the interesting thing is she still will not support me in seeing her son, even though she knows what an awesome grandma I am to her niece and nephew, because she sees it all the time. She stops by all the time. My door is open all the time. But if she's in a good mood, she's in a great mood. But if she's in a bad mood, then I'm on eggshells, right? So it's that yo-yo effect that just doesn't stop, no matter how old they get.
Yeah, we gotta put a stop to this parental alienation.
Alienated adult children sending me messages to go kill myself like I was intended to. Who are these kids getting these kind of messages from? I mean, it's only the alienator that badmouths the parent, because now when I got the messages from my kids over the last 18 years, I kept, I had to open up all these Facebook pages to find them. I that's what I did for a living, to search for people out there with the military. I worked for the military police. I'm not going to let go of my kids. It's like, I had to give them space to grow, to get them to know what they were dealing with. And I didn't want to push them, but I never, ever neglected them. So when they brought me back to trial 17 years later, telling the judge I was the one that didn't want anything to do with them, this is what they were suing me for. But yet on Zoom trial, my 31-year-old daughter literally said to the judge, she didn't alienate us, we alienated her. Right there is the evidence of parental alienation. It was all pre-planned, because in the excerpts 18 years ago, Justice Taylor, he knew. He called the ex-husband a conniving, scheming, manipulative liar, and he had no doubt he set me up. But he gets the house and kids and don't pay support until the house sells, only because the 15-year-old, the 17-year-old, and the 18-year-old, while I was fighting for 5 months criminal charges, were brainwashed by the father to say, you go with your mother, you will be living on the streets just like her. This is what his life was like. He was always threatened as a kid too, that here's the key, because he was taken away from his father at 9 months, never to have one. And every time he talked about his father, the mother would, the kid's biological grandmother would say to the father that, oh, he was a monster, he's a monster, he's a monster. So when I was got engaged, they set it up for me to get engaged, and I didn't. It was a surprise party, so I'm getting engaged that night. A month later, I got married. But when I asked for the father's address so I could invite him for the wedding, his mother said to me right in front of my fiance that night, she says, "Oh, you don't want to invite him. You don't want to know him. He's a monster." I'm 21 years old. No, actually, I was 22 years old. I was 22 years old, and she's telling me this. And here my children were brought to her so that they wouldn't be alienated from her. She lives 2 miles from my mother. We each grandparent. We never went to one without the other. So every day we spent half a day with each grandparent. And then we would head back to where we were posted with the military. So I made sure they had equal. What did she do? My ex-husband's grandmother, mother, alienate my kids the exact same way she took her own son's father away, to never see him again in 25 years. We found him. He was murdered 2 months prior to us in California. This is getting so bad that, and then he blamed me for the rest of my life after that for another, we were married 2004 years. So another 20 years, I had to deal with abuse, being threatened that if I left him, he'd alienate me. He'd tell me that I'd never see the kids again, or he would kill me, or he would kill the kids and me if I left. I mean, this is what I had to deal with. And this is severe mental abuse, what we deal with in order to be with our children. I had to stay with the kids. I had to stay with him. I had to be there and hold the kids together because his career took him away. But when it came to the divorce, where I had to say, you know what, enough is enough. You are not going to hurt me. You're not going to rape me anymore. Right in front of the marriage counselor, I said that. I went to jail. He literally told the police that I uttered a death threat. And here I am, disabled in a wheelchair, and the police took me away after he ran out of the house and went to the mall with my 16-year-old daughter and called the police. So, these false allegations that are happening, and told the police that he feared the kids' lives, so he took them. Opened the door for the police. And when the police asked whose kids these were, I said, they're mine. Whose kids does he have? I said, if he feared their lives, why are my 2 kids here opening the door for you? And they still took me. And, I have no respect for these people when they do this. Because they called me a half hour before to say, I want a prize. Will you be home? We're bringing it. I said, basically, I tried to tell them to stick their gift up their ass, because I was resting. I was just had, suffered a really bad fall 4 days prior. They didn't care. They literally wanted me dead, my ex-husband. So when I got falsely arrested, the police took me, and I said, "Why are you taking him? Why are you taking his word over mine? I mean, look at me. I got covered in braces." And the officer said, "Be grateful we're taking you to the cells and not the morgue." This 18 years ago, this past July 18th. And I thought, how dare you do this to me? And my ex-husband's been getting away with it. So he's been abusing my kids by proxy. So the kids are abusing me by proxy because they're living vicariously through him, through his abuse, through his anger, through his violence, because he was a street fighter and a bully as a teenager. Well, what made me think he'd change? He said he'd join the army and become a man. Well, you know what? They don't. They get worse. And there's so much PTSD in the military as it is today that, he couldn't get any mental and psychological help like I did. I went through therapists all my marriage. I had to. I couldn't deal with what he was putting me through. And not to mention I have, medical and all that. But to make a long story short, I got help. He didn't. And that's why I believe that these alienators that don't get help become very envious, jealous of us because we are stronger. And in order to bring us down, they use our children to put us to the ground.
Got it. Spot on. Spot on.
Yeah.
They
so, and
they need help themselves, and they just have to. If they're not going to get it, we need to grab a hold of.
What's your next step?
My next step?
Yes.
We're having we're working on getting it's legal clinic that's going to be helping us set up the program. And we're going to go for funding and do our business plan. And we're just in the works of putting everything together and lining it up. Our church is going to help us. It's the Kingdom Church in Kissimmee. They are supporting us. And we have some community leaders here that are helping us as well. So our next step is just start to build so we can get these education and awareness, number one. And we're going to eventually do supervised visitation for parents that are already separated and have to go by court orders to have supervised visits. But we're going to do it the right way, and we're not going to be biased. We're going to do it the right way and help these parents. That's all I want to do is help them, not go through what I'm going through, not go through what Mary and what Wendy, what you ladies have gone through. It's horrific. And we got to put a stop to this. We have to put a stop to this.
Yes,
absolutely.
We do.
Absolutely. And the more people we have sharing the stories and getting the word out and giving these children a voice. I was doing some research yesterday, actually, because I was planning to do a live, which I never got around to yet. But it's staggering. Just in Canada alone, there's at least 30 children that are killed at the hands of a parent a year in Canada due to parental alienation.
There was a case here in Florida where we were just discussing it, where they kept telling them that the father was abusive and he alienated the mother, and he wound up killing the kid.
Yeah, we just read about that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a case here too, not that far, not too far from me, and they've actually named a law after the little girl. She was killed by her father, and they found her father and her dead at the bottom of a cliff. So they named Kira's law after her. And there was another case like that in the States, which is Caden's law.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of Caden's law. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're both very similar cases, and it's alienation that's the cause.
So
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
We had the one that happened here in Milton a few years ago.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
okay.
Caden's Law, only 20 minutes from me. The father jumped over the cliff with the daughter in his hand, the child in his hand. And it's so devastating because it's right here in my backyard.
And
In
they
Wendy's backyard.
actually are just about done doing a documentary, which is called I Stand with John. That's a John Mast story. You can Google him. It's Mast. He was an alienated father, and he was shot and murdered by his kid's grandfather, which is his ex-wife's father.
I think I saw that page.
Yeah, and it's on. People are sharing it constantly on my page. The documentary is almost finished, and the funny thing is, the grandfather admitted to the police that it was premeditated, and that he did it premeditated, but he only got voluntary manslaughter for it. So, and this father had to go through everything, lie detectors and everything, to prove his innocence, that he didn't sexually assault his kids. And that was the number one allegation my sister came up with to our child protection services as well, saying I sexually abused my grandson at 4 months old. Well, how would she know this? And to beg the difference is absolutely no evidence as well. But how would she know this? A 4-month-old can't talk. Was she there and saw it happen? But then yet in the video, she's saying that I said it about her husband. So it's just, okay, so are we all sexually abusing this child? How many people are sexually abusing this child? Are we all doing it together? Like, this is how outrageous these stories become.
I've heard of lies like that. Everybody's doing it to me. Everybody's doing it to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's sad. I just want to comment here. We have Marianne Petrie watching the show. Marianne does her own podcast, Slam the Gavel, and she has written a book in the courts called Slam the Gavel. And also, she just came out with her Raised by These Wolves. Congratulations, Marianne, for all the work you do and all the podcasts you do as well, bringing on specialists, alienated parents, moms, dads, grandparents. I mean, we need more of these people like you, Marianne, and, we have all these Dr. Jennifer Harmon, Dr. Mark Roseman. I mean, Wendy and I have done interviews with many, 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 and yet here we are still in the same spot, or if not 2 steps backwards, trying to save our children in the family courts. But all these judges, Marianne shared this TikTok video about a judge today. I'm not sure if you ladies all have time for us to play, but this judge literally gave the mom heck because she alienated the father from the children. And just give this a listen for a minute. And it's you can find it on my Facebook page.
I appreciate everyone being here today. I appreciate Ms. Corey being here today. I am going to find contempt. I'm going to enter a civil sanction of $1,000. I'm finding that the mother is able to follow the court orders, but is not willing, that you are intentionally defying the court's orders. I'm also making a separate finding that the mother is directly involving the child in the court process, and that you are encouraging the child to disobey and making no effort to follow the court's orders. Here's the reality. No, this is where I talk. I've given everyone a chance to talk, and I've listened. When I read the court file, here's my take. If I was making a decision on adequate cause today, I'd make that finding and I would transfer full custody to father. That's your risk, ma'am. What you're doing right now, you are fully aware of what you're doing. You are deciding that you are going to disobey the court order. You're not encouraging your kid to go. You're allowing your child to believe he has some kind of say. He does not. This is a parental decision, and if the two of you can't make that decision, it's the court's decision on where your kid's going to live. Your child is more important than ownership. And what I see in this case file is ownership, is somebody wanting to possess that child, own that child, but not parent that child. And that is a huge concern for the court. When I see these nice text messages between child and stepmom, and then you tell a kid, you don't even have to answer her. You don't have to go to that sports game. That's ridiculous. When you tell a child, especially a young teenager, you don't have to respect that adult. You know what that translates to? I don't have to respect mom. I don't have to respect dad. I don't have to respect my teachers. I don't have to respect the court. I can blow all of that on all those people off. So when you think that you're just telling, oh, you can disrespect kind of stepmom, that's not what's happening. You're telling that child he can disrespect everyone. That is terrible for that child. You have 4 years left with this young man before he's launching off to adulthood, and you are setting him on a course for disaster. How school works, it's not how the world works, and that's going to be a harsh reality for him. When you do those types of things, it is so damaging. And especially when what I see on the other side is folks being loving and caring. Teenagers are hard. They are hard work. They are not easy. Sometimes they are just going to be disobedient and annoying and frustrating. But that's where you as parents come in, and you need to step up and say, you have to go to your dad. It's your dad's time. You're going. And what you're doing right now is he's on his phone. He's playing his little games. He's going to his friends' houses. That all sounds like he gets to do what he wants. And you're teaching him that instead of follow the court order. It's at the end of the day, it's you that are going to pay the penalty for this, not the child. It's you that risks losing all custody of your child. I honestly had notes on whether or not there needed to be a pause in any contact with you, ma'am, before, and the child needed to be with dad and no contact with you for a period of time. That's how serious I take these orders. That's how serious the court takes orders as far as parenting time. So this idea that kid gets to be on his phone, dinking around, watching TV, eating snacks, all while you are fully aware he's disobeying the court order and you're disobeying the court order, that is not acceptable. And you need to think long and hard about your course of action, because you're going down a course of action that I don't think you're going to like the outcome. So at this point, I'm signing the contempt. Ma'am, I highly recommend that you ensure child goes on his visit with his dad. And it's not a visit. Child needs to go to dad for his dad's residential time. Dad is an equal parent here. And everyone needs to realize that and get on board really quickly. Because at this point, the court hasn't found adequate cause, but I think the court essentially is reserving that issue, and it can go the other way. The court can find adequate cause and award father for custody. So that is the risk here. So I encourage everyone here to really quickly get on board with getting child to both houses as ordered. Child starts school in a week and a half. The idea that we're going to play this game as child starting his high school career is ridiculous. Everyone needs to get on board with what the child needs and stop sort of playing these games. Encourage relationships with both sides. Stop alienating father and father's family. That is not helpful to that child. You should be thankful and grateful for every adult that wants to be, every positive adult that wants to be involved in your child's life, instead of trying to encourage your kid to blow them off and ruin that relationship. It's not healthy. It's damaging. So I'm making finding of contempt. I'm setting the matter over for 1 week.
That's right.
There you go. There you have it. Now we need judges. All
Those are the
judges.
judges we need.
Where is she? I want to find her.
No kidding.
It's on my page. It's on the Parent Alienation page. We will keep sharing it, and I'll get all the names and everything there for you.
That is what we need in this judicial system, this family court.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yes.
Somebody
exactly.
to recognize what is really going on and not brushing it under the rug.
So thank you, Marianne, for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we need as many advocates. as we can. I know Wendy does not stop. We are actually next week we have Vernon Beck from Canada Court Watch that will be coming on to Let's Talk Real Talk with Andy Martins and I. And he's going to be talking about how we can start cases of bringing back people to the courts that hurt us, like the judges, the lawyers. I mean, we need to do something. We need to stand up for ourselves because we have been abused by the court system. Our children have been abused by the court system.
Absolutely.
This has got to end. So we only got about 15 minutes left. Well, we already gone to 45 minutes, but if we could do another 10 minutes, it'd be great. Lisa and Wendy, I'm going to give you guys another 5 minutes to talk on what you think should be our next move as a community, a village, to get together to help, because people in our own community are not helping us. We seem to have to step outside the community in order to get any kind of help. Why is that? Why is it that our own people cannot help us or not wanting to help us? Is it because they can feel the pain? Are they alienated too, but don't know how to come out? We need parents to be stronger. So I'm going to get Wendy. Can you tell us first what you think? I mean, we've done a lot together, but
well, the thing is, what we need right now is we need as many advocates to jump on board for every cause they possibly can. If you are an advocate that wants to stay silent because of your situation and you're going through the court process, we still have jobs that you can help out, be useful, and get things on board. We're starting all these programs and dividing people into sections, whether they're doing letter writing campaigns, interviews, corroborations on writing books. We need more of this out. If you're not familiar with our other page, which is dedicated to advocates, it's called Family First Advocacy Center. It is on Facebook. We are grouping everybody in their geographical area so that we can match everybody up. We do rallies, we do marches, we get out there. We don't sit on the computer. We are constantly fighting for our children, and we need everybody on board to help fight for your children. We can't do it alone, guys. We need everybody. So if you need any help, want direction, want to know where to go, need a job, want to find your MPP or your local legislation, contact me anytime, day or night, and I'll get you in contact with the right people. We need to start setting up these meetings, and we need to get people to start listening.
Thanks, everybody. Your contact? Sorry, repeat your contact, Wendy. We lost you.
You could find me under Alienated Parent and Grandparent Peer Support Group on Facebook and Family First Advocacy Center. I also have Central Perk on Facebook, which is for extended family, alienated family members as well. So we've got lots of groups, lots of resources, and lots of avenues and jobs and things that need to be done for everybody to jump on board and advocate together.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Thank you for all you do, Wendy. I mean, this is, you're into your third generation. Third or fourth?
Third,
your mom,
yeah.
You.
Well, with my mom, that's 4 generations of alienation. Yeah.
4 generations. And it's just horrifying. 4.
Yeah.
How about you, Lisa?
This is just the beginning for me. I'm just getting my feet wet right now. And I have a lot of connections in the community, and I'm starting with my The name of my group is called Healthy Minds and Healthy Families First. It's on Facebook. You can give me your information, send me a message if you want to collaborate with me. We're also collaborating with NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. We do a lot of work with them in the community, and we just want to advocate and bring this out here. And the thing that I believe within this community is awareness. Like I said, I did not know about parental alienation until I was in it. So a lot of people, and when I talk to people and they tell me what's going on, I tell them that's parental alienation.
We lost you at a lot of people.
Yeah, they don't know. So I want to bring about awareness, and that's why I'm on this video, this interview, so that people can hear what Mary, you're doing a lot of good work. I watch your videos, and I want people to get in tune and to get on the topic. Parental alienation. We need to stop it now. And
Absolutely.
I just want people to contact me and we advocate together, right? We do things and we get things rolling, because this is ridiculous. This is horrible.
It is.
We're going to
It really
find
is
kids in mental institutions before they're old enough to vote. That's a quote from somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the truth.
Well, a lot of parents and grandparents are getting sicker and sicker, and their lives are shortened because they're grieving for their child, the prolonged grief disorder. You know, that's like CPTSD. That's a daily living thing, to grieve your children and your grandchildren. I remember pardon?
My mother was very involved. They lived with her. My son was living with her, and I can't show her a picture sometimes. She just starts crying and misses them so much. It's horrible. My heart is broken. My heart is broken.
Yeah, my mother too. She's 91 years old and missed out 18 years of it. And my ex-husband did it purposely to hurt her, because he always had vengeance out on our family for no reason at all. And my mother treated him better than she treated me. And I'm thinking, what the hell, Mom? Like, why are you taking his side all the time? You know, like, he's the one that's pinching the kids. Why are you yelling at me, sort of thing, right? I mean, he would make the kids cry so we could leave my mom's house. Like, he would never do that with his moms.
Not to last that long. I'm not going to allow it to last this long. I can't.
You can't. No, you can't. This is not right. Our children will be so traumatized, and we need to stop, because I don't want kids to end up like my kids. My son from a Navy ship, I can't even say it, sent me messages to go suck whatever. I mean, this is horrible that this is coming out from a young man's mouth to his mother. And when I reached out to the Navy turned on me. But they knew, because that's what I did for a living, to help young people, young soldiers that joined the Army and came over to my posts that overseas, to help them deal with, can you help me find my mom? Or I would get phone calls from parents. I don't know where my son is. Can you tell me where he is? Where is he stationed? I had to do all that. And now when I go to look for my kids, no one will tell me where they are. It's a secret. My ex-husband's lawyer, when I wrote and said my mom or my dad died, the lawyer would write back, "Oh, that's too bad. Go find your own way to go contact."
Oh.
They won't give any information out. Okay, I see we're getting distorted here. We're scrambling. So what I'm going to do is Lisa is really got distorted. There's always, someone's getting hacked here or there, and we see who is messing with us. But anyways, Wendy, thank you so much for coming out. Lisa, thank you. I'm hoping that you can come back.
I will, for sure.
Okay, we can't see you. You're just a big blob, but very colorful.
I could see her, so it's on your end, Mary.
Oh, so it's my computer that's
Yep,
hacked again.
I could see her fine.
Oh,
Okay.
good. Okay. So, okay, well, I'm
Well,
just
thank you.
going to.
I also would like to give my email if anybody wants to email me. It's Lisa, Lisa, C as in Charlie,
Hold
Cruz,
on. Lisa.
C as in Charlie,
Okay.
and then another C, Ruz, Cruz,
Okay.
the number 5, and that's at gmail.com.
Okay. I just put it. Can I put yours on there too, Wendy?
Yep, it's WMAC7241 at gmail.com.
And I'm going to put mine. So all three of us, anybody that needs anything, just contact us and we will help as much as we can. But
Absolutely.
remember, we're advocates. We're not lawyers. We're not therapists. We're not doctors. We cannot prescribe anything. We cannot give you legal advice, but we can help you fill out what kind of forms you need. We could do all kinds of stuff, support you that way, help you assist to courts and anything else in that kind of matter that you feel intimidated by. Wendy and I, we can help you in the Ontario. Well, Wendy goes all the way to Toronto, so I'm usually closer to home. But yeah, we can do what we can, right, Wendy?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Contact us anytime.
And
Okay.
I'm in
Well,
Osceola
thank you
County,
again, Wendy.
Florida.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, alienated parents, alienated grandparents, alienated children worldwide. Please, if anything, forgiveness is what's going to give you a happy life. You are walking in the shadows of an alienating parent who won't let you free. Be the bigger person and just say, you know what, enough is enough. And this is how domestic violence survivors end up walking away to protect you kids. Or alienation is also in the elderly, and elderly abuse is June 13th. So it's the day before Grandparents' Day here in Canada. But to end this show, anybody that's out there that would like to come on to Let's Talk or Let's Talk Real Talk, please PM me, or you can message Wendy too, because Wendy will help get you onto the podcast as well. And I do podcast with the Andy Martin show as well. So if you want to be on either or both, we're here for you. Like I said, next week we have Vernon Beck for Canada Court Watch to talk about legal stuff. And the week after, we have an alienated grandfather that's going to be joining us all the way again from Michigan. He's not too far from you, Lisa.
I'm in Florida, though.
Oh, yeah, you're in Florida. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
You're right. So Scott Demsmuir Muse is an alienated grandfather. So I encourage grandfathers and fathers to come on to our podcast as well. So once again, everyone, thank you. Good night. Don't jump off. And we're going to end this podcast shortly. In 1, 2, 3, and good night, everyone.